The only thing that is seen as having value are those products and those services that are derived, right, from the primary production that comes from natural systems. Well, the problem is if you undermine those natural systems, right, you don't actually have the possibility of being able to have this long-term sustained provisioning of all of these materials and all of these products and all of these services that are provided to us by natural systems. Why? Because you're destroying all of those things so you can make a dollar. Doesn't make any sense. It's like suggesting to someone that the way that they can make money is like selling their organs. Right? It doesn't make any sense because, you know, at some point, fine, you're making all this money by selling your spleen and your liver and your gallbladder and your pancreas. And like at some point, like you got all this money, but you're too sick to enjoy it, or you're dead. Well, it's the same thing. It's like you have a planet where effectively that's the thinking that informs how we go about pursuing our economic lives.
The environment is really, it's the foundation of our society. Without it, we have no economy. We have no breakfast. We have no video games. We have none of that stuff. And planet care is really the ultimate form of self-care.
When you have a significant amount of land solely for nature and biodiversity, that the agricultural land performs better. Again, this does not, square with our linear understanding of, like we need to use every bit of land for agriculture to create more yield. No, not at all.
And a lot of people tend to think permaculture is just about gardening or land use. It is definitely about that and started with that, but permaculture is a lot more than that.
We understand permaculture as a design system, as a design process. And so the other question is, can you do permaculture? I mean, so this, it's interesting because I think of course, I believe that you can totally put permaculture into practice, especially when it comes around the principles themselves, manifesting those. But the design methodology is what, permaculture purists would call the real meat of the situation. And then, there's any time that I've seen misunderstanding around what permaculture is or isn't, usually has to do with the fact that people get attached to certain ways of doing or certain methodologies for implementation that become attached to permaculture, and in so doing limit it. And
one of the definitions we came up with in about 1990 was revolution disguised as organic gardening. And I'm going to talk about gardening today and make no apology for it. One of the debates going on in the movement is, how do we get away from this idea it's all about gardening? But actually, gardening is not a bad place to be. It is about a lot more than that.
And this is something that, frustrates certain people, that permaculture can be a complex topic. But this is something that I love about permaculture, is that you really have the ability to make it your own. Permaculture is, in general, a set of tools and guidelines.
Yeah, it's really, to me, it's how you think about it. We don't really teach how to do permaculture. It's how to think about it, how to make decisions. It's a big decision-making and problem-solving set of tools that we give through the principles, and also through strategies and methods too. But the principles are really the key, and that's what distinguishes permaculture from other forms of ecological design, I think. I think they're brilliant, actually.
Yeah. The permaculture, among other things, is a tool for knowing how to place different items in the landscape.
I would like to say that for me, permaculture is primarily a thinking tool for designing world where we can see low carbon, highly productive systems, but also its influence, the permaculture's influence can be very pervasive. What can start as a journey toward living a more ecologically balanced lifestyle can go far deeper, even transforming our worldview and radically altering our behavior.
It's really the antithesis of what we're doing now. It's about finding a way to conduct our affairs, whether it's on a personal level or corporate level or government level. How do we conduct our affairs in such a way that we ensure future generations and other species, not just not a human thing, and how we ensure future generations and how other species can continue to live and live well. And part of that, as you guys keep pointing out, is regeneration. We can't sustain what we're doing. We have to go beyond that. We have to repair the damage that's occurred. We have to repair and heal the earth and the oceans. And so it's really, permaculture is about, it's about energy. It's about making wise decisions with regard to our food supply, it's about making earth friendly, earth responsible, if you will. I love the term biomimicry. It's about making, following in the footsteps of nature.
But as you know, I've been working with and mentoring under Rob and Michelle for the last year, and they often say permaculture isn't something that you do, it's something that you use in what you do.
I started really trusting my intuitive nature. Like, I feel like permaculture brought me to trust my intuition. And then I started questioning, like, is it intuition or is it pattern recognition?
I mean, we talked about doing, but it's almost being. It's a state, well, like you say, Penny, it is a mindset. And exactly, once that's become part of your life, that's the lens that you see everything. And I love to see the transformation of people when they first come in, and it might be like, I teach at all levels. And when I give people a presentation on the introduction to permaculture, just as a general public, and you kind of see a few eyes like, oh, that's interesting. And you kind of see that you've just infected them in a good way with just that view. All of a sudden, this is very different from where else you'll learn it. And I like to give the standard kind of, one of the standard definitions of permaculture, but then mine, I like to add it's just applied common sense.
As a species, at least, in the Western world, we have lost a lot of knowledge, and that traditional knowledge. And permaculture gives us tools, a set of principles and ethics. And this allows us to, in a way, find our way back to that knowledge that so many of us have lost.
Well, I know that permaculture provides us with this comprehensive, methodical process and very positive solutions approach. That's what I love, the positive solutions approach for designing resilient, productive systems, for meeting our needs, guided by those core ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share.
Broadly speaking, I would say that permaculture is a way to operationalize a good intention. And the reason why I say it's a way of operationalizing a good intention is that we oftentimes end up confining permaculture to just what we do on land. And of course, that's one component. But, there are two other ethics, right? So, of course, care of the earth, care of people, or care for people, and fair share of the surplus. And I think sometimes most of us get stuck on the first, and the second and the third fall by the wayside.
You can, based on what your goals are for your life or your context and where you are in the world, your definition of permaculture may sound a little bit different than how other people describe it. So I like to describe permaculture in a few different ways. So first, I like to approach it with a simpler definition. And so when I'm talking to people and people ask me, what do you do? Like, what is this? And so instead of giving them the long-winded answer that their eyes glaze over a little bit, I start more simply. So I like to start with that permaculture is basically finding ways for us to live more closely with our environment. That's the way that I describe it.
One of the things, if you really want to be active in permaculture, if you really want to be self-sufficient and you want to be sustainable, is you do a lot of experimenting. You try things, and you need to have that personality where if something doesn't work, you don't say, well, that doesn't work. You say, well, what could I do differently? And then try it again. And if that doesn't quite work, how do you try it again? So this is not a sport for quitters, and you've got to be kind of accustomed to that.
So I really want to inspire people to try something new. And a few keywords for this, and you'll see this repeated again and again, is try, test, fail, and tweak. So let's try this together. Stand up, stretch. Everybody, you can stretch, stand up and say, try, test, fail, tweak. Try, test, fail, tweak. Come on. Try, test, fail, tweak. That's the whole essence of it. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to try, test, fail, and tweak if you want to have a permaculture lab. That's really what it comes down to.
One of the biggest misconceptions about permaculture design is that permaculture design is a noun and not a verb. Like permaculture design, like a permaculture design isn't a thing. Like it's not like here's my permaculture design. No, permaculture design is a process. It's an active, iterative, ongoing thing.
And one thing that was like a core routine was what they called the sacred question, which is basically of everything that comes to you in your life, you can ask of it this two-part question, which is, what is this telling me? And what can I learn from it? So what is the message that's coming? And then what can I learn from it? And then you take that, it's like what you're saying, it's like you're constantly being mentored by your life experience.
Permaculture does a needs analysis. And this is key to all our design work. What are the needs of the plant? Even a carrot. What are the needs of this community? What are the needs of this family? And then we set about designing them.
Based on the needs and yields analysis. And if you've taken the PDC, you've seen this before. But if you haven't, this is a great exercise because it really shows you, how many ways you can use the resources on your own property, and understanding the needs of all of your given elements. These are only just a few of them in your system. You could see that you can get that same stacked matrices of relationships, and you're basically creating systems that are much more closed loop, right? That are much more resource efficient. And that's what we're really looking for. And this can be done on multiple scales with any type of organization or home garden or large scale agricultural process.
As the saying goes in permaculture, you turn the problem into the solution. And so this corral was designed so that whenever it rains, it slopes and water runs off down this road into this pond. And on this one pond, which is only like a few thousand square feet, and I go to these docks, and you can kind of see where I've harvested it. In peak growing conditions, I can harvest 200 pounds of this stuff every day. And it's basically, they've done research where for pigs and chickens, you can basically feed this stuff up to 50% of their diet can be duckweed with no loss in weight gain or egg production.
Take a note of this one. Observe what grows naturally and naturally plant that first. Why? Because these are the ones that come on. If it's growing wild everywhere, if you have cherries growing wild everywhere and you plant the cherry, chances are that cherry will do really well.
The more plants, the more growth you have in plants, the more moisture you're going to get because you're seeding the rain and because you've got a healthier small water cycle.
So they were so used to, here's the pollution control laws and we have to comply with this and comply with that and comply with this and comply with that. And along comes Dan and he's saying, no. I don't, how do we prevent those problems? How do we design your factory so that it doesn't produce that hazardous waste? How do we redesign the whole system so that we don't have to have all these laws?
This is what permaculture does. It meets needs.
So what we want to do is optimize the use of our biological resources through the entirety of our short growing season. And by biological resources, I mean the organic matter, the microbes, the roots in the soil, getting compost in there that's microbially diverse. So we love making really high test thermophilic compost that's just loaded with microbial activity. We use a lot of cover cropping as well. And so we want to keep that nutrient cycle humming. We've got lots of ecosystem health here, small greenhouse, lots of rainwater storage. It's so abundant right now. It's unbelievable. You wouldn't believe the harvest. I just finished doing all my canning, and I'm like overwhelmed. It's been so much this year, but there's so much productivity that one can produce off of an urban lot. And the permaculture design process is really a valuable design. It's a valuable tool to help us get from what I used to have to what I have today, and the level of productivity and ecosystem health and dynamics.
So something is brought into consciousness that people couldn't imagine could be through permaculture.
So that when you guys are excitedly telling your neighbors and your friends about this new crazy thing called permaculture, and they ask, oh yeah, but can it actually feed the world? You can answer, absolutely.
Be like the rose that leaves its scent even as it is being crushed in someone's hand, right? So ultimately, you have a chance to leave your scent, right? So it's like we're here, might as well make it epic, right? Every day we have a chance to wake up in the morning. It's another day to get it right. Got another opportunity to get it right.
Well, I hope you found these tidbits of information super inspiring, and it reminded you about how great the weekend was and how much energy was delivered to the world around permaculture. If you're wanting more information, more hope, knowledge, and a plan, you should know that our Permaculture Design Course starts really soon. It's just around the corner. We do this online course once per year, and every single one of these courses has produced incredible students, and the students that have come out of these courses have produced incredible designs. So if you're finding yourself after the last couple of years trying to figure out what now, how do I take this information and action it in my life? How do I remove some of the anxiety that I'm feeling about global supply chains, about the state of the world? And how do I turn that anxiety into something that will actually make my life better? You should definitely consider checking out our Permaculture Design Course. The Permaculture Design Course is a globally accredited 72-hour program that will teach you the nuts and bolts of how to turn your property and your life into abundance. And so if you have concerns about the global supply chain, we were going to teach you how to grow food. We're going to teach you how to plant vegetables, how to grow animals. We're going to teach you how to turn your house into a property that captures its own energy and turns waste into resource. We're going to talk about passive solar greenhouses and livestock systems. We're going to talk about how to build community. And if you're out of work right now or wanting a career change, we're going to show you how you can take these permaculture principles and permaculture information and turn it into a regenerative enterprise. If you've been on the fence for a while, wanting to take a permaculture design course, there's never been a better time. Also, I hope you got an incredible amount of inspiration out of the summit and the replay that we've just put together for you. And if you have any comments, I'd love to know what your most inspiring moment for the summit actually was. Leave those in the comments down below for us. Okay, if you have any questions about the course, please get in touch with us at info@vergepermaculture.ca, and we'll make sure that someone gets in touch with you right away. See you guys soon.